Well met, adventurers! Sometimes we want to reward our players, and though gold can be a great way of doing this, another fantastic way is by giving them magic items, be it through they vanquishing a foe and claiming the spoils of war, or through exploration and finding them in maybe like, a treasure chest or drawer or whatever kind of thing. Magic items are a fun way to be able to give your players some kind of boon that they can enjoy and kind of work out how to use in fun and inventive ways. So this video contains 10 fun and unique items that you can give your players. So let's get into this. Yes, it is I, Nathaniel Gomezian, shopkeeper and proprietor of Gaming Treasure Chest. And as I said, today's video is all about 10 magic items that you can bestow upon your players that are unique, that it's going to be fun to see how they utilize them and have fun with them within the game. But I could not do this alone, and so I'd like to thank the Bards College who has stepped in to help with this video. They make fantastic Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop roleplay videos as well, so make sure you check their channel out, link in the description below, but let me allow them to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Tyler and I run the Bards College, a channel all about D&D, DMing, and everything in between. If you want some tips for getting behind the screen, inspiration for your sessions, or just want to hear some fun talk about my favorite hobby, check it out. Thanks to Gomez for having me on his channel, and I'm really excited to show you some of the items we've cooked up here. Without further ado, let's get started.
So the first magic item that I have for you today is the refilling bottle. And basically this bottle, it has got like a kind of leather straps around it that have got runes inscribed on them. And basically the concept behind this bottle is that whatever liquid you pour into it, it will remember and reproduce that the next day. So if you put a healing potion in it and then drink that healing potion, the next day it will refill that healing potion. And so it can be a very fun item for your party to use in terms of, do they just use it to get healing potions, or do they start to be more creative with it? However, I will say that there is one drawback to it that will stop them from trying to cheat the system, as we say. If you take the refilling bottle and try to pour it into another container, as soon as the liquid starts to enter the other container, it will immediately turn to water and not be useful at all. And even if they try and pour that water back, it won't recreate the potion that was originally in there, and the next morning it will just create water because that was the last potion that you put in there, or last liquid that you put in there. So it can stop them from being able to just basically go, oh, healing potion, I pour that, I've got another healing potion, wait next day, pour it into another one, got another healing potion, and start selling them, because I know that there are some players who will try to utilize it like that. So if they try to pour it into another vessel, it does nothing. It is only when the bottle is taken by a human, or if it's poison or something like that, I guess they could put it on their weapon kind of thing. But if they try to put it into something else to contain the liquid, it just becomes inert and useless water. So as I said, it's a fun item that'd be interesting to see how your players decide to go about it, whether or not they just use it for healing potions, or if they put more fun things in there, like a poison that keeps regenerating, or whatever the hell they decide to put in there, but it will keep refilling every day. Maybe they decide to put an oil or something in there to be able to start fires, so they've got continuous sources of oil. Or if they're massively degenerate, then I guess mayonnaise, if you know the whole alchemist jug mayonnaise thing. But it's a very fun item to put in front of your players nonetheless. Anyway, on to the next one.
Adventurers are often decked out in lots of weapons. Swords, crossbows, hammers, mauls, not to mention all the magic staffs and wands those wizards and warlocks carry. Sometimes they'll need to be a little more subtle about what they're dragging around, especially when infiltrating certain places or meeting powerful people. That's where the gloves of sheathing come into play. As a bonus action, you can make one weapon in your hands disappear, or reappear. You can only have one item sheathed at a time, but now your party can walk around without drawing any attention, while still having their arms ready to go at a moment's notice. I'll leave it up to you whether or not the gloves look fashionable though.
So the next item that I have for you is quite a fun one to include within your world and the idea of it, and that is Antimagic Handcuffs. Now the idea of this comes because, let's face it, in a world where magic is prevalent, be it through natural means of druids or spells of sorcerers, wizards and the like, there's got to be some way to be able to stop that and contain that if you were to try and imprison these people. And so these handcuffs are what come into effect in terms of when they are placed on a magic user, they can no longer cast spells at all. So it is an interesting item to potentially use against your party if you've got magic users and they end up being imprisoned or jailed in some way, and so you put these handcuffs on so they can't cast spells as easy and they've got to come up with a way of taking these handcuffs off. Or if your players actually have this item themselves and try to stop another magic user who's on the enemy team, be it the big bad themselves or be it one of their cronies or whoever, from being able to cast spells. But it's not just as simple as that, because these handcuffs require a little vial of blood of the magic user that they're going to be stopping and inhibiting their magical abilities. So the party have to first gather a little bit of their blood to put in a vial, which then goes into the handcuffs, and then they have to put those handcuffs onto the magic user whose blood they have taken and put in the little vial that they have put within the handcuffs, and that will then stop them from being able to cast magic. So it can be interesting to see what kind of ideas this can create for your party members. If you're using it against your party, it can just be everyone's been knocked out, and while they've been knocked out, that's when they've taken the vial of blood from the magic user of your player to be able to do these handcuffs. So there are ways that you can put it in so that the players understand that that's what is necessary for these handcuffs to work. And then, as I said, it can be fun to see how they decide to utilize them themselves, if they decide to use it themselves in the world. So it's a very fun magical item, but it makes your players have to think strategically about how they're going to implement it. So that's why it's a nice little fun one. Anyway, on to the Bards College.
As someone who wears glasses, you know what I hate about them? They only do one very specific thing. Sure, I need them to drive or whatever, but why can't they also help me see in the dark, or know how many magic items people are carrying? Well, now they can, with the Seeing Eyewear. These glasses have multiple lenses that your players can activate once per day, each granting them a different boon. Dark vision for 5 hours, detect magic for 10 minutes, or true sight for 5 minutes. Way better than regular reading glasses. But there is a downside. Every time they use a lens, they'll need to succeed on a wisdom save. You decide the DC, or become blinded for 10 minutes. So maybe I will stick with these for driving, just in case.
The next magic item I have for you is the Pillow of Restfulness. And basically, this is just a very, very comfortable pillow that your players can find in numerous different ways. This is a very common magic item, and because they've had such a restful sleep, this magic item allows them to gain advantage on one skill check the next day. You can change it so that it's 2 skill checks if you want to slightly improve this, but I feel like just giving it 1 skill check that they gain advantage on is fair enough. It's quite a simple, not too powerful magic item if you do that. I like this magic item because it's nice and simple. It's not too overpowered because it is a skill check, so it doesn't count for, they can't get advantage on a saving throw or an attack roll, but just a skill check that they decide to do during the day. And as I said, you can either decide to go with just the one that I've suggested, or you can give them 2. It depends on how you want to go with it. And the fun thing is you can decide how you want to introduce this to your party, be it through they just find it in a general store that they're looking around, there just happens to be pillows, and they're like, why the hell are these pillows here? Why is the DM even mentioning pillows to us? Or maybe that they spend a night in a very swanky, expensive hotel, and once they do, they feel really well rested, and you say to them, oh, you gain a advantage on a skill check of the day, and that makes them think, oh, this is quite a swanky hotel. Maybe we should steal these pillows, or maybe we should see if we can buy or acquire some of these pillows. So there's many different ways that you can go about introducing these to your party, and as I said, seeing what they decide to do with it is also quite funny. Anyway, to the Bards College.
Magic mirrors are no stranger to fantasy, though they are to me. I don't actually own a hand mirror, but your players could. And what if they were able to ask it questions about the world around them? Sounds kind of like a magic 8-ball. But I'm thinking of the Divination Mirror. Once per day, your players can ask it a question, and the mirror will show them an image or a series of pictures that provide an answer. Of course, the scope of the mirror's knowledge can be up to you as the DM. Here's the catch. Every time they use the item, they'll need to roll a d10. On a 1, their beautiful new mirror will crack, and they won't be able to ask it questions anymore. So sure, there's the risk they break it forever, but how else are they going to know when health potions are on sale? It's worth taking a chance.
The next magic item that I have for you is a very fun one, and it's called the Stone of the Mockingbird. This magic item just looks like a standard, like a stone or rock, but when your players use the command word, it starts recording any noise that is made, and you can decide on whether or not it is a continuous record or whether or not it can only record, like, up to a certain number of words or a certain amount of time. But basically then when they use the command word, it stops, and then there is an additional command word to make it repeat the noises that it heard. This item could be used in a number of different ways by players, either as a distraction, like maybe they say into it, help, help, I need help over here, and then they then put the stone down like some kind of side alley and activate it, and then it makes that noise, and then it draws the guards or whoever it is that they are trying to distract in that direction. As I said, it can be any noise that they make to be able to do it, and then the guards are going to be looking around, but all they can see is whatever, and then just standard looking stone there. Or your players can utilize it more interestingly, and maybe they use it to record a conversation, maybe that is happening at a tavern, or even it could be more political intrigue in terms of it can be somebody plotting to overthrow the kingdom or whatnot, and basically they can record this and then play it back to the king or whoever for them to be able to hear that somebody is obviously plotting against them. So it can be fun to see how your players decide to utilize this, and whether or not they use it as just distraction terms or whether or not they use it a little bit more role play to be able to record information and present it to somebody else. Obviously the person who's on the recording can deny it and say this is some kind of dark magic or something like that is doing a forced betrayal of them, but obviously your players have got different ways of being able to then role play, be through actually trying to persuade or casting zone of truth to be able to prove that this is correct or whatnot. There's many different things that obviously, depending on your party's composition, they can do with this, and as I said, it can be very fun to see what they do with what is relatively a simple item but has got multiple crazy different uses. So it's a fun item to give to your players. Anyway, back to the Bards College.
Making magic items doesn't have to be difficult. Sometimes it's as simple as taking something from real life or a video game and giving it a cool fantasy name. Take this next item, Thunder Eggs. They're just flash grenades for paladins. They look like a little gemstone egg, and as an action, your players can chuck one up to 60 feet away. Once they hit the ground, it erupts in a flash of light and sound. Any creature in a 10-foot radius needs to make a DC 14 con save, taking 3d8 radiant damage on a failure or half with a success. And if they fail, they're also blinded, with a chance to save again at the end of each of their turns. Is it the most original? No. Is it still pretty cool to picture your fighter chucking one into a horde of enemies? Absolutely.
The last magical item that I have for you is a legendary item, whereas all the other items that I've gone through today are kind of either mundane or rare or whatever. This one is actually a legendary one, which I just wanted to include because I think it's a very fantastic item and can be a lot of fun if you've got a ranger or somebody who uses a bow within your party. And the item is called Echoed Whisper. And this is basically a bow whereby if you look at it, it's got these spiraling kind of dark orbs which go around it. These three shadowy kind of purpley dark orbs that dance their way up and down the bow. These orbs are actually an essential part of the item because they basically represent the charges that this item has. Once your player attunes to the item, they've basically got these three options that they can use once per day because the orbs basically regenerate every single morning, so they can use these three different abilities once per day, and they are the following abilities. The first is Echolocate. As an action, the player can shoot an arrow, and basically they can know the location of any kind of creatures or humanoids within a 50-foot radius of where they shoot the arrow. So they can shoot it out and they will know all the creatures or monsters or whatnot that are within this 50-foot range. So it can be very powerful for them to actually know the locations of things. This is a fun ability because it'd be interesting to see how your players utilize it, whether or not they are going into somewhere where they think is abandoned. So they shoot an arrow to make sure it's abandoned, that there's no a kind of creatures or such around, or whether or not during combat they shoot this arrow somewhere just to check and make sure that there's nobody else, like reinforcements or whatnot, that are going to be coming into the battle as well. The second ability is called Echo Shot, and this is a very powerful ability in combat, and this ability works by when the player uses an arrow and shoots and hits a target, they can decide to use a bonus action to activate this ability, and what it does is they roll a d6, and whatever number is on the d6, that is how many additional arrows hit that target, because it kind of echoes. So the first arrow hits the target, and then there are these echoes, kind of like purpley echoes of arrows that then additionally hit the target, doing half the damage of the original one, and that is every single arrow that hits after the original one. So if they roll a d6 and get six arrows doing half damage each, then hit the target as well, and so can create significantly powerful damage. And as I said, that's why it's only a once per long rest thing, so they can only use this once in a combat per day, and that's why it's such a powerful thing. Yeah, again, why it's a legendary item. With the third ability being Echo Relocate, with this, when the player shoots an arrow, they can use a bonus action to teleport to where that arrow hit. So basically your player can use this ability to either shoot and teleport towards an enemy, and then if they've got close range weapons, then get that involved and basically be like, I'm over here now, and then attacking like that. Or if they need it as an escape ability, if they are more ranged combat, which obviously using the bow they probably would be, they can then use it to shoot an arrow and teleport further away if they are being surrounded by enemies. So yeah, again, very fun. And obviously teleports can be used in so many different stupid crazy ways out of combat as well, so it can be fun to see how your player decides to utilize this. As I said, they only get the relocate once a day. Along with all of these abilities, they can only use them once per day. If you want to, you can allow your player to be able to use those free charges as they want per day, using multiple of the same thing. So if they want to use the relocate 3 times, they can do. I will say you might end up regretting that decision if you decide to give it, because Echo Shot is a very powerful ability, and allowing a player to use that 3 times in the combat could potentially be a significant amount of damage. And as they use those abilities, you can say that the orbs that are dancing around the bow start to dissipate as they use an ability. So once they use an ability, there's only 2. Once they use another ability, there's only 1. And then once they use the final ability, there are no orbs dancing around this bow until they take a long rest, and as I said, it refreshes. So you can explain that obviously that is the charges being used as they are using them. When I introduced this item, I only allowed them to use one of those abilities per day kind of thing before taking a long rest. But as I said, up to you how you decide to implement this, but it is a very powerful weapon, and as I said, that is why it is the legendary item that I give to you today.
Dragons are some of the most iconic creatures in D&D, wielding the powers of the elements to devastating effect. And now, your players can too, while protecting themselves from the very breath weapons those monsters rely on. Dragon's Embrace is a glittering set of scale mail armor, or whatever best fits your player's builds. It's made of the scales from each type of chromatic dragon, and each long rest, the attuned wearer can choose one of their damage types and gain resistance to it. On its own, that's pretty neat. But that's not all the armor can do. Whenever they're hit by a melee attack, the wearer can use a reaction to unleash the wrath of the dragons on their foes. They instantly deal 2d8 damage of any of their 5 options to the attacker, not just the one they're resisting at the moment. Cold, acid, poison, fire, lightning. No matter who they're fighting, they'll be having a bad time. One more optional ability for the armor: as they grow stronger and more attuned to it, you could give it the ability to sprout wings and grant them a fly speed of 60 feet for an hour. Just be careful with this one. Not only is flight really strong, but at that point, they're basically just a dragon now, so good luck with that.
Big thank you to the Bards College for helping me out with this video today. Link down below to their channel. Definitely go check them out because they've got amazing videos. I also did a video with them for their channel doing more magic items, so please check that out. As I said, magnificent channel, and if you like my channel, you'll definitely like their stuff. Speaking about liking my channel, if you do, why not consider liking this video and subscribing if you want to see more content like it. If you have any ideas of fantastic magical items or magical items that have been given to you or that you have dished out in your games, please leave them down in the comment section down below because I would love to read about them, as well as joining the Discord channel, which at the moment is very small, but I hope to make it very big and a fun place for us to be able to communicate and come up with ideas and share stuff and whatnot. So if that sounds like fun, link down below, as well as if you want to help the channel out financially, why not check out the Etsy store of Gaming Treasure Chest, where there are D&D related items, be they dice holders, dice rollers and such, that I have designed myself and will 3D print and send to you. So if that sounds like fun, why not consider checking it out? Yet again, links down below. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, keep rolling and having a good time.